The Seine sparkled beneath the twilight as McKenna Grace lifted her wine glass, watching couples stroll along the riverbank. This trip to Paris was supposed to heal something broken inside her. A marriage growing colder by the year, a husband who looked through her instead of at her. She'd hoped the distance might make Archie remember why he'd loved her once. Her phone vibrated once. She ignored it, determined to enjoy this moment of peace. It vibrated again, then it wouldn't stop. McKenna's chest tightened as she pulled out her phone. The first message was from her neighbor, Linda. "McKenna, I don't know how to tell you this, but there are moving trucks at your house. Big ones. Should I call the police?" The wine glass trembled in her hand. Moving trucks? That made no sense. She'd only been gone 5 days. Another message appeared, this time with a photo. Her living room, completely empty. The couch where she'd nursed her son Cameron through childhood fevers, gone. The piano her father bought her before he died, wrapped in blankets, being carried away by strangers. McKenna's breath came in short gasps. This couldn't be real. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Archie was surprising her with renovations. Maybe he'd arranged for the furniture to be cleaned while she was away. But even as she told herself these lies, her hands were shaking, her heart pounding with the knowledge she didn't want to accept. Another message from Linda. "McKenna, honey, I'm so sorry. There's a woman with him, young, blonde. They're directing the movers together. She just went inside your house like she owns it. I think you need to come home." The world tilted sideways. McKenna gripped the edge of the table, trying to breathe, trying to think, trying to understand what was happening to her life. A woman, a blonde woman, in her house, with her husband. No, this was paranoia. Archie had been distant lately, yes. Preoccupied with work, always on his phone, but that didn't mean... Her phone buzzed with a video message from an unknown number. She almost didn't open it, almost threw her phone into the river and pretended this nightmare wasn't happening. But McKenna Grace was her father's daughter, and Judge Raymond Grace had taught her one thing above all others. Face the truth head-on, baby girl. Denial is just pain on a payment plan. She pressed play. The video showed her bedroom, or what used to be her bedroom. Now it was empty except for Archie and a young blonde woman, both holding champagne glasses, laughing like teenagers. The woman twirled in the empty space, her voice bright with cruel joy. "I can't believe it's finally ours. No more sneaking around, no more pretending. You're finally free." Archie pulled the woman close, kissing her deeply. When they broke apart, his voice was thick with satisfaction. "Best decision I ever made, Isabel. Selling this suffocating house and starting fresh with you. No more cold marriage. No more wife who doesn't understand me. Just us." "Does she know yet?" Isabel's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Who cares? By the time McKenna gets back from her little vacation, we'll be moved into the penthouse and she'll have nothing. Let her figure it out. I'm done carrying dead weight." The woman, Isabel, laughed. "To freedom, to finally having what we deserve." They clinked glasses, and the video ended. McKenna sat frozen, the phone still glowing in her hand. Around her, Paris continued its evening symphony, laughter, music, clinking glasses. But she heard none of it. She could only hear Archie's voice echoing in her mind. Dead weight. That's what she was to him. Dead weight. 15 years of marriage. A son they'd raised together. Fertility treatments they'd endured. Miscarriages she'd cried through while he held her hand and promised they'd get through it together. All of it. Dead weight. Something inside McKenna cracked. Not her heart. That would come later. Right now it was something colder, the shattering of every illusion she'd built about her marriage, her husband, her life. She sat there for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, letting the shock wash over her in waves. First came disbelief. This couldn't be real. Then came the bargaining. Maybe she misunderstood. Maybe there was an explanation. Then came a grief so profound it felt like drowning. But beneath all of it, something else was growing. Something her mother had planted years ago. a memory surfaced, her mother's voice at a company party, watching Archie's hand linger too long on his assistant's shoulder. "Baby girl, I see something wrong in that man, a hunger that won't ever be satisfied. Promise me you'll protect yourself, not just your heart, your future." McKenna had promised, and she'd kept that promise in ways Archie never discovered. She opened her phone with trembling fingers and made a call to someone she'd hoped she'd never need. Preston Locke answered on the second ring. "McKenna, it's late in Paris. Everything okay?" "No, everything is very much not okay. Do you remember that contingency plan we discussed? The one you helped me set up years ago?" There was a pause. Then Preston's voice turned sharp, professional. "The trust documents? The property protections? All of it. I need to activate everything. How soon can we move? I can have preliminary paperwork filed by tomorrow morning. But McKenna, are you sure?" "Once we start this, I'm sure. He just sold a house he didn't own. He forged documents I never signed. And he's celebrating with his mistress in what used to be my bedroom. So yes, Preston, I'm very sure. Then we're going to war, and McKenna, we're going to win." After she hung up, McKenna sat alone with her shattered heart and her broken trust. She wanted to cry, wanted to scream, wanted to call Archie and beg him to tell her this was all a terrible mistake, but she didn't do any of those things. Instead, she opened her banking app and checked accounts Archie didn't know existed, checked property deeds registered under her maiden name, checked the business empire she'd quietly built while playing the role of devoted housewife. Everything was still there, untouched, protected. Because McKenna Grace wasn't just a betrayed wife, she was the daughter of a judge who'd taught her to plan for worst-case scenarios. She was a woman who'd turned her inheritance into an empire while her husband was too self-absorbed to notice, and she was about to show Archie Smith exactly what he'd thrown away. She booked the next flight home, first class, using a credit card Archie had never seen, connected to accounts he'd never asked about. As she packed her bags in the hotel room, her phone buzzed one more time. Another video from the same unknown number. This time, a different woman appeared in the frame, older, polished, professional. Someone McKenna recognized with a jolt of fresh betrayal. Gwen Palmer, her best friend since college, her son's godmother, the woman who'd held her during miscarriages and sworn eternal loyalty. Gwen handed Archie a stack of legal papers, her smile cold and deficient. "The sale went through perfectly. McKenna has no legal recourse. I made absolutely certain of that. The house is Isabel's now. Your wife can't touch it." Archie raised his champagne glass to Gwen. "You're brilliant. What would I do without my favorite lawyer?" Gwen's response made McKenna's stomach turn. "You'll never have to find out, darling." Then Gwen leaned in and kissed Archie. Not a friendly kiss, a lover's kiss. The video ended. McKenna sank onto the hotel bed, the full scope of her betrayal finally clear. Not one affair, two. Not one traitor. Two women she'd trusted, working together to destroy her, her husband and her best friend. She should cry, should break down, should call someone for comfort. Instead, she felt something cold and sharp crystallizing inside her. Not rage, that would come later. This was something purer, determination. She opened her phone and sent 3 text messages to her brother Tyrell. "It's happening. Everything Mom warned us about. I need you." To her mother Diane, "You were right about him. About all of it. I'm coming home." To Preston Locke, "There are 2 targets now. Make them both pay." Then she texted her son Cameron, keeping her voice steady despite everything crumbling inside. "Baby, I'm coming home early. Grandma will pick you up from school tomorrow. Pack your favorite things. We're going to stay with her for a while." His response was immediate. "Is everything okay, Mom?" She typed 3 words, then deleted them. Typed again, deleted again. Finally settled on, "Everything will be. I promise. I love you." "Love you too, Mom." McKenna set down her phone and walked to the hotel window, looking out at the city of love that had just witnessed her marriage's death. Tomorrow, she'd go home and face the ruins of her life, but tonight she let herself feel everything, the shock, the grief, the betrayal so complete it felt like her skin was being peeled away. She cried until there were no more tears, screamed into a pillow until her throat was raw, let herself break completely in the privacy of a Paris hotel room, because tomorrow she'd need to be strong. Tomorrow the war would begin, and Archie Smith had no idea that the wife he'd dismissed as deadweight was actually the most dangerous opponent he'd ever face. The woman he'd betrayed owned the city he lived in. The empire he'd built was about to crumble, and the marriage he'd destroyed so carelessly was now going to destroy him with surgical precision. McKenna Grace was done being a victim. Now she was going to be a reckoning. Chapter 2. The woman they never saw. The flight home was endless. McKenna sat in first class, staring at clouds, replaying every moment of her marriage, searching for signs she'd missed. They were everywhere. The late-night work emergencies that kept Archie at the office. The business trips that lasted longer than they should. The way he'd stopped touching her casually, no more hand on her back when they walked, no more absent-minded kisses while passing in the kitchen. She'd noticed all of it. She'd just convinced herself it was normal, that marriages cooled over time, that successful men were busy men. She'd been such a fool. When the plane finally landed, her mother was waiting at the airport. Diane Grace stood by the baggage claim, her silver hair pulled back, her face a mask of controlled fury. The moment McKenna saw her, the careful composure she'd maintained on the flight shattered. She walked into her mother's arms and let herself be held like a child. "I know, baby, I know." Diane's voice was steel, wrapped in velvet. "But you're home now, and we're going to handle this together." They drove to Diane's house in silence. When they arrived, Tyrell was waiting on the porch with Cameron. Her son ran to her, taller than her now, but still her baby, his face tight with worry. "Mom, what's happening? Dad won't answer his phone. Grandma picked me up early and wouldn't tell me why." McKenna pulled him close, breathing in his familiar scent, gathering strength. "Let's go inside, sweetheart. We need to talk." In her mother's living room, surrounded by family, McKenna told Cameron a carefully edited version of the truth. Not about the affairs. Not yet. Just that his father had made some choices that hurt their family deeply, and they'd be staying with Grandma for a while. Cameron wasn't stupid. At 15, he understood subtext. "Dad's leaving us?" "Dad left us, baby. We just didn't know it until now." "Because of another woman?" McKenna hesitated, but Tyrell spoke up. "Your father made adult choices that have adult consequences. You didn't do anything wrong. None of this is your fault." Cameron's face crumpled. "Did I do something? Did I make him not want us anymore?" That broke McKenna completely. She pulled her son close, holding him while he cried, whispering promises that she'd keep them safe, that they'd be okay, that his worth had nothing to do with his father's failures. After Cameron finally fell asleep in the guest room, exhausted from crying, the adults gathered in the kitchen. "Tell me everything," Diane said, pouring coffee. "Every detail." McKenna showed them the videos, watched her mother's face harden with rage and Tyrell's jaw clench with barely controlled anger. "That backstabbing piece of—" Tyrell stopped himself, taking a breath. "Gwen too? Your best friend?" "Apparently." McKenna's voice was hollow. "I keep trying to remember signs I missed with her too, but there's nothing. She was perfect. The perfect friend, always there, always supportive. I never suspected." "That's because you're not a suspicious person," Diane said firmly. "You trust people. That's not a weakness, baby. That's a strength they exploited." Tyrell pulled out his laptop. "Okay, let's talk strategy. You said you called Preston." "He's filing paperwork tomorrow. The house sale is fraudulent. Archie forged my signature on documents for a property he didn't own. The house has been in a family trust for years. Preston helped me set it up right after Mom warned me about Archie's wandering eyes." Diane squeezed her hand. "I hated being right about him." "The trust was smart," Tyrell said, scanning documents on his screen. "But we need more. We need to know everything Archie's been hiding. Finances, assets, communications. Give me access to his accounts and I'll find the dirt. I have his passwords. He uses the same one for everything, our wedding date. He thought it was romantic." Tyrell's smile was sharp. Amateur mistake. I'll have everything by morning. There's one more thing, McKenna said quietly. The mistress, Isabel. I need to know who she is, how long this has been going on. Already on it. Tyrell turned his laptop around. Isabel Jr., mid-20s, started as an intern at Archie's company years ago. And McKenna, she has a daughter. The room fell silent. How old? McKenna's voice was barely a whisper. 7, born while you and Archie were married. The coffee mug shattered in McKenna's hand. She didn't notice the hot liquid scalding her skin, didn't feel Diane rushing to clean up the mess. She could only process one devastating fact. Archie had another child, a daughter, while they were trying for a second baby, while she was crying over miscarriages, while he was holding her hand and promising they'd keep trying. He'd already had another child with someone else. Mom, you're bleeding. Tyrell was suddenly there, wrapping her hand in a towel. McKenna looked down at her palm, seeing blood mixed with coffee, feeling nothing. Everything felt distant, unreal. I need to know, she said, her voice hollow. I need to know everything, every lie, every betrayal, all of it. Can you do that, Tyrell? I can do that. But McKenna, are you sure? Some things, once you know them. I'm sure. I'm done with partial truths. I want everything. Over the next hours, Tyrell worked his magic. He hacked into Archie's email, his phone records, his banking information. What he found painted a picture of deception so thorough it took their breath away. The affair with Isabel had started when she was 19, fresh out of college, desperate for a job. Archie had hired her, mentored her, then seduced her. The power dynamic was textbook predatory. The affair with Gwen went back even further. They dated briefly in college before Archie met McKenna. When he chose McKenna instead, Gwen had buried her feelings and played the loyal friend, waiting for her chance. There were others too. Brief flings, one-night stands, a pattern of infidelity that spanned their entire marriage. He was never faithful, Tyrell said quietly. Not once, McKenna. I'm sorry. McKenna sat very still, processing this. 15 years. 15 years of marriage, and not one day of true fidelity. What about money? She asked, surprised by how steady her voice was. What's he been hiding? Offshore accounts, shell companies. He's been siphoning money from his own company for years, building a secret nest egg. Best guess? He's been planning to leave for a while. The house sale was just the final step. How much? Hard to say exactly, but we're talking millions. Plural. Diane's voice was ice. That's embezzlement. Corporate fraud. Exactly. If his board finds out, they will find out, McKenna said. Anonymously. Tomorrow. Let them handle him professionally while we handle him legally. Tyrell grinned. You're scary when you're angry, big sister. I like it. I'm not angry, McKenna corrected. I'm done being a victim. There's a difference. As dawn broke over Diane's house, they had a plan. Preston would file for divorce and press fraud charges over the house sale. Tyrell would leak Archie's embezzlement to the company board, and McKenna would finally reveal what she'd been hiding all these years. I need to tell you both something, McKenna said, about what I've been building while Archie thought I was just a housewife. She pulled out her own laptop, showing them property deeds, business registrations, investment portfolios, all registered under her maiden name, McKenna Winters. Dad left me more than just the house money. He left me his investment strategy, his real estate connections, his entire network. I've been buying properties, renovating them, building a portfolio. I own apartment buildings, commercial properties, luxury developments, all of it hidden under my maiden name, managed through Ruby Flores. Tyrell's eyes widened. How much are we talking about? Enough that I'll never need anything from Archie. Enough that when this divorce is final, he'll realize he didn't just lose a wife. He lost access to wealth he never knew existed. Diane started laughing, real laughter, proud and fierce. Your father would be so proud. You learned every lesson he taught you. Dad always said, never let someone else control your survival. So I didn't. I built my own empire while Archie built his ego. Does he know about any of it? He never asked. That's how little he saw me. I could have told him at any time, but he never once asked what I did with my inheritance, how I spent my days, what I was building. He just assumed I was spending his money and organizing charity events. That's actually poetic, Tyrell said. He's been cheating on a woman who's richer than he is and doesn't need him at all. He just doesn't know it yet. He'll know soon enough, McKenna said, when the eviction notice arrives. Eviction notice? She smiled for the first time since Paris. The Riverside Towers, that luxury building where he and Isabel moved into a penthouse. I own it. Have for 3 years. It's one of my best properties. The room erupted in shocked laughter. He moved his mistress into your building? Diane was nearly crying with laughter. Oh, baby, that's not just karma, that's poetry. The lease he signed requires full financial disclosure and background verification. He falsified both. That's grounds for immediate eviction. I can have them out by end of week. But you won't, Tyrell said, understanding dawning. Not yet. You want them comfortable first. I want them celebrating. I want them thinking they won. And then, when they're absolutely certain they've destroyed me, I want them to realize they've destroyed themselves. Diane hugged her daughter tightly. Judge Grace taught you well. He taught me that justice requires patience, that rushing to punishment often means the guilty escape on technicalities. So I'm not rushing. I'm building a case so airtight that when it closes, they'll have no escape. What about Cameron? Diane asked gently. When are you going to tell him everything? When I have to. Right now he knows his father hurt us. That's enough. The rest, the affairs, the secret child, the betrayal, he'll learn when he's ready, or when Archie forces the issue. As if summoned by his name, McKenna's phone rang. Archie. She stared at the screen, her finger hovering over the answer button. Don't, Tyrell warned. Let him sweat. But McKenna answered, not because she wanted to hear his voice, but because she needed to hear what lies he'd prepared. McKenna, thank God. Where are you? I've been worried sick. His voice was smooth, concerned, perfectly calibrated. If she didn't know better, she'd believe him. I'm with my mother. Where are you, Archie? At the house. Well, I was. I wanted to surprise you with renovations while you were in Paris, but the contractor made a mistake and had to move everything out temporarily. I know it looks bad, but I can explain. Stop. Her voice cut through his practiced lies. Just stop. There was a pause. Then his tone changed, grew colder. You saw. I saw. All of it. McKenna, it's not what you think. Archie, I don't care what you have to say. My attorney will be in touch. Don't call me again. Don't come to my mother's house. Don't try to see Cameron until we've established legal custody arrangements. Are we clear? You can't keep my son from me. Watch me. She hung up, her hand shaking but her voice steady. Diane squeezed her shoulder. Proud of you, baby girl. I don't feel proud. I feel broken. You are broken, and that's okay. You're allowed to be broken, but you're going to heal, and when you do, you're going to be stronger than you ever imagined. Later that morning, after Cameron woke up and was distracted with breakfast, Preston called. Papers are filed, Archie's been served, and McKenna. His company board just called an emergency meeting. Someone sent them evidence of embezzlement. The vultures are circling. Good. Let them tear him apart professionally while we handle the personal. There's one more thing. Gwen Palmer is named as his attorney of record in the house sale. Her law license is about to come under serious scrutiny. The Bar Association takes fraud very seriously. She made her choices. Now she lives with the consequences. After Preston hung up, McKenna sat in her mother's kitchen, drinking coffee, processing the fact that her life as she knew it was over. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. Maybe the life she'd been living was the problem, and its ending was actually a beginning. She just had to be strong enough to see it through. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I need to talk to you, please, about Archie, about things you need to know. Isabel. McKenna stared at the message for a long moment. Then she typed back, Why would I ever want to talk to you? The response came quickly. Because I'm not who you think I am, and neither is he. Please, for your son's sake, if not your own. For Cameron's sake. That was the magic phrase. One meeting, public place, tomorrow. If you're lying or wasting my time, it'll be the last mistake you make. Thank you. I'll send you the address. McKenna set down her phone, wondering what fresh betrayal tomorrow would bring. But she'd face it, just like she'd faced everything else. Because she was McKenna Grace, daughter of a judge, mother of a beautiful son, and secret owner of an empire. And she was done being underestimated. The war had begun, and she was going to win. Chapter 3. The Mistress Who Wasn't a Villain. The coffee shop was deliberately neutral, a chain restaurant in a strip mall, the kind of anonymous place where no one would recognize them or care about their drama. McKenna arrived early, choosing a corner table with clear sight lines to all exits. Her father had taught her, always control the battlefield, baby girl, even if the battlefield is a coffee shop. Isabel Jr. arrived exactly on time. She was younger than McKenna expected, but not in a good way. Young in a way that made McKenna's stomach turn, barely out of college, soft-faced, with the kind of youth that spoke of inexperience and vulnerability rather than beauty. This was the woman Archie chose, this child. Isabel approached the table with hesitant steps, like someone expecting to be hit. She wore cheap clothes that didn't quite fit, carried a worn purse, had dark circles under her eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and crying. "Thank you for meeting me," Isabel said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wasn't sure you would." "I'm here for information, nothing else. Sit down." Isabel sat, wrapping her hands around a coffee cup like it was a life raft. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Isabel said the last thing McKenna expected. "I'm sorry." "Sorry?" McKenna's laugh was sharp, bitter. "You destroy my marriage and you're sorry?" "I know it's not enough. I know nothing I say will ever be enough. But I need you to understand. I didn't know. Not really. Not how he painted you. Not who you actually were." "Then tell me. Tell me who you think I am according to Archie." Isabel took a shaky breath. "He said you were cold, that you'd stopped loving him years ago, that you were only staying for his money, that you were having an affair of your own. He made you sound like a villain who was making his life miserable. And you believed him." "I was 19. Isabel's voice cracked. "I was a college intern, desperate for a job because my mum was sick and we had medical bills we couldn't pay. Archie hired me when nobody else would. He was kind to me when I was invisible to everyone else. He mentored me, helped me, made me feel important for the first time in my life, and then he—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "He what?" McKenna's voice was ice. "He pursued me, relentlessly. At first I said no. I knew he was married. I knew it was wrong. But he was persistent. He'd find reasons to work late with me, to take me to business dinners, to text me at midnight with questions about projects. He made me feel special. And when he finally kissed me, when he told me he was falling in love with me, I believed him. You were his employee. He was your boss." I know that now. My therapist has spent months helping me understand the power dynamic. But back then, I thought it was romantic. I thought I was the exception, the one woman who truly understood him. McKenna wanted to hate her, wanted to see a homewrecker, a villain, someone worthy of her rage, but all she saw was a young woman who'd been manipulated by someone with power and experience. "When did you get pregnant?" Isabel flinched. "A year after we started. I was 20. I was terrified. I told Archie and he—" Her voice broke. "He told me to get rid of it, said I was trying to trap him, said his wife would destroy both of us if she found out. He gave me money for an abortion and told me to handle it quietly." "But you didn't." "I couldn't. I know that makes me stupid or naive or whatever you want to call me, but I couldn't. So I told him I'd handle everything on my own, that I wouldn't ask for anything, that he could pretend it never happened. But he didn't let you disappear. No, A month later he came back, said he'd been thinking about it, that he wanted to be involved. He set me up in an apartment, gave me money every month, visited occasionally. I thought he was stepping up, being responsible. I thought it meant he cared. Did he ever tell you about Cameron? About his son with me? Isabel nodded miserably. He said Cameron was a mistake, that you'd gotten pregnant on purpose to trap him, that his real family was with me and Lily, and someday he'd make it official. He told you he'd leave me. For years. Every time I asked when, he'd say soon. Just a little longer. The company needed stability. His son was too young. The timing wasn't right. There was always a reason, and I believed every one of them. McKenna studied her carefully. When did you figure out the truth? 2 months ago. I found out about Gwen. Isabel's voice turned bitter. I came by the office to surprise him and saw them together. The way he touched her, the way she looked at him. It was exactly how he touched me, how he made me look at him. That's when I realized I wasn't special. I was just one of many. How many others are there? I don't know. At least Gwen. Probably more. When I confronted him, he laughed at me, said I had no right to be jealous, that I knew what I signed up for. That's when I understood. He never loved me. He loved having me, controlling me, keeping me in a box where I'd be available whenever he wanted, but never demanding more. And the house? How did you end up buying my house? Isabel's face crumpled with shame. Gwen came to me with the plan. She said you'd abandoned Archie, that you'd gone on vacation to Europe and weren't coming back. She had documents showing the house was his, that he wanted to sell it and start over with me. She made it sound romantic, like I was finally getting the life I deserved. So I used money Archie had given me over the years to buy it. I thought I was helping him escape a bad situation. You never questioned why his wife would just abandon him? I wanted it to be true. I wanted to believe I was the good guy in this story, that you were the villain and I was saving him from you. But you're not a villain, are you? No, Isabel. I'm just someone who was married to a liar. Isabel wiped her eyes, mascara running. I didn't come here to make excuses. I came to warn you, and to tell you everything I know about what Archie and Gwen have been planning. McKenna leaned forward. I'm listening. They have offshore accounts, plans to leave the country. Gwen's been helping him hide money for years. They were planning to disappear together. Leave me, leave you, leave both our kids. The house sale was just the beginning. They were planning to liquidate everything and vanish. Do you have proof? I have copies of emails, bank statements, documents Gwen left at Archie's apartment. I took photos of everything before they could hide it. I was scared, but I wasn't stupid enough to confront him without evidence. She pulled out her phone, showing McKenna screen after screen of incriminating evidence. Financial records, emails discussing escape plans, communications about hiding assets. Why are you showing me this? Why betray him now? Isabel met her eyes directly for the first time. Because I have a daughter, and she keeps asking when Daddy's coming to visit, and I keep making excuses, and I realized I'm teaching her that love means accepting scraps, that men are allowed to hurt women as long as they throw money at the problem. I'm teaching her to be me, and I can't live with that. Something in McKenna softened slightly. Not forgiveness, but understanding. This woman was damaged too. What do you want from me, Isabel? I want to testify. If you're pressing charges for fraud, I want to tell the truth about how it started, how young I was, how he manipulated me, and I want your help. My help? I can't afford a lawyer. If Archie comes after me for betraying him, I'll lose everything. I'll lose my daughter. I need protection, and I know I have no right to ask, but I'm asking anyway. Not for me, for Lily. She deserves better than parents who destroyed lives. McKenna sat back, processing. Every instinct screamed not to trust this woman, but something in Isabel's desperation felt genuine. I'll make you an offer. One time only. You tell the truth about everything, the power dynamic, the manipulation, all of it. You cooperate fully with my attorney. You cut all contact with Archie, and in exchange, I'll provide legal representation and drop any personal charges against you. Why? Why would you help me? Because you're not the villain here. You're young and stupid and made terrible choices, but you were also victimized by a man who had all the power. And because your daughter is innocent. She doesn't deserve to suffer because her father is a predator and her mother was naive. Isabel started crying again, this time with what looked like relief. Thank you. I don't deserve your kindness, but thank you. I'm not being kind. I'm being strategic. A victim testifying against her abuser is much more powerful than two bitter women fighting over a man. Do you understand? I understand. Good. Now tell me about Lily. Tell me about my husband's other child. Isabel pulled out her phone, showing McKenna photos of a little girl with Archie's distinctive green eyes and delicate features. She looked about 7 with a shy smile and clothes that had seen better days. She's beautiful, McKenna said, and meant it. Does Archie see her often? He used to visit once a month. Now it's been months. She thinks she did something wrong. That's why Daddy stopped coming. McKenna's heart broke for this child. Another casualty of Archie's selfishness. And Gwen? Does she know about Lily? She found out recently. She was furious. Not at Archie, but at me. Said I was trying to trap him with a baby. Like she didn't do the exact same thing by making herself indispensable legally. Gwen doesn't have children. No, she was engaged once, years ago. But Archie... Isabel stopped. This is going to sound crazy. Try me. Gwen was engaged to someone you introduced her to. At a dinner party years ago. She dated him seriously, almost married him. Then Archie convinced her the guy wasn't good enough for her. Convinced her to break it off. I think he wanted to keep her available, keep her dependent on him. McKenna felt sick. How many lives had Archie destroyed? They talked for another hour, Isabel providing details that would strengthen the legal case. By the time they finished, McKenna had enough evidence to bury Archie and Gwen professionally, financially, and legally. What happens now? Isabel asked as they prepared to leave. Now you go home, pack up anything important, and prepare for Archie to realize you've betrayed him. He'll come after you. Are you ready for that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Good. My attorney will contact you tomorrow. Follow his instructions exactly. And Isabel, stay away from my son. He doesn't need to know about you or Lily yet. That's a conversation I'll have with him when the time is right. I understand. As Isabel walked away, McKenna sat alone in the coffee shop, processing everything she'd learned. Archie wasn't just unfaithful. He was predatory, calculating. He'd spent years manipulating young women, using power dynamics and emotional vulnerability to build a harem of dependence. And Gwen had helped him do it. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tyrell. Archie's been fired. Board meeting was brutal. Press already has the story. He's radioactive. Then another text from Preston. Gwen Palmer just received notice of Bar Association investigation. Her career is effectively over. And finally, from her mother. Cameron's asking questions. Come home soon. McKenna paid her bill and drove back to her mother's house, feeling the weight of too much knowledge and not enough answers. When she arrived, Cameron was waiting on the porch, his face tight with confusion and hurt. Mom, there are reporters calling, asking about Dad, saying he was fired for fraud. Is it true? She pulled him inside, away from prying eyes and potential cameras. Yes, baby, it's true. Your father has been making very bad choices for a very long time, and now he's facing consequences. Is he going to jail? I don't know yet. Maybe. Probably. Because of you. The question stung, but McKenna understood it. Cameron was trying to process whether his mother was the victim or the villain. Because of himself, because he chose to lie, cheat, and steal. I'm just making sure he's held accountable. Do you still love him? Such a simple question. Such a complicated answer. I love who I thought he was, but that person never existed. So no, I don't love the real Archie. I'm just sad it took me so long to see him clearly. Cameron nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? And will you tell me the truth? Always. Is there another woman? Is that why he left? McKenna made a decision. Her son deserved honesty. Yes, there's another woman. Actually, there are two. And Cameron, there's more you need to know, but I don't want to tell you everything at once. Can we take this in pieces? Okay. What piece should I know now? Your father had an affair, a long one, with someone much younger than him, and she has a daughter. She watched her son process this, saw the moment understanding hit. I have a sister. A half-sister, yes. How old? About 7. The math clicked in Cameron's brilliant mind. While you were trying to have another baby? While you were going through treatments? Yes. Cameron stood abruptly, walked to the window, stared out at nothing. His voice, when he spoke, was hollow. I don't want to see him. Is that okay? That's completely okay. Will you make me see him? When this goes to court or whatever? No, sweetheart. I'll fight to make sure you only see your father if and when you want to. Not before. Good. Because right now, I don't want to see him ever again. McKenna understood. She felt the same way. But she also knew that eventually Cameron would need closure, would need to confront his father and ask all the questions burning inside him. That day would come, but not today. Today, they would simply survive. Together. And tomorrow, the war would continue. Chapter 4. The Empire revealed Archie Smith's world collapsed on a Tuesday morning during an emergency board meeting he hadn't been invited to attend. His assistant knocked on his office door, pale and shaking. Mr. Smith, the board wants to see you immediately. They've asked you to bring your attorney. Why? What's this about? I don't know, sir, but security is with them. Security. That was never a good sign. Archie walked into the boardroom to find all 15 board members seated, along with 2 attorneys he didn't recognize, and 3 men in dark suits who had forensic accountant written all over them. The board chairman, Douglas Whitmore, looked at him with pure disgust. Mr. Smith, we've discovered significant financial irregularities in company accounts. Money transferred to offshore entities, shell companies using our resources for what appears to be personal asset protection. We've also found evidence that you've been using company funds to pay personal expenses for multiple individuals outside your immediate family. Archie's mouth went dry. I don't know what you're talking about. We have bank records, Mr. Smith, wire transfers, email communications between you and your attorney, Gwen Palmer, discussing how to hide assets from your wife during your impending divorce, emails where you explicitly discuss using company resources for personal benefit. The room spun. How did they get those emails? How did they find the accounts? This is a misunderstanding. I can explain. You're fired, effective immediately. Your access to all company systems has been terminated. Your company credit cards are cancelled. Security will escort you from the building. We're recommending criminal prosecution to the appropriate authorities. You have 1 hour to remove personal belongings from your office. Everything else is company property and will be inventoried. You can't do this. Douglas stood, his face carved from granite. We not only can, we must. Your actions have exposed this company to massive legal liability. You've betrayed the trust of shareholders, employees, and this board. You're done here, Archie. And once the press finds out why, and they will, you're done everywhere. 2 security guards stepped forward. Archie looked around the room, searching for sympathy, finding none. I built this company. This is mine. No, Douglas said quietly. This company exists because shareholders invested capital and employees created value. You were merely a steward who betrayed that trust. Now you're nothing. Get him out of here. The walk through the office with security escorts was humiliating. Colleagues stared. Former friends looked away. His assistant was crying as he boxed up personal items, throwing everything into cardboard containers with shaking hands. When he reached his car in the parking garage, he tried calling Gwen, straight to voicemail. He tried calling Isabel, voicemail. He sat in his car, surrounded by boxes of his former life, and finally called the one person he'd been avoiding. McKenna answered on the 3rd ring, her voice calm and unbothered. Hello, Archie. You did this. Somehow you did this. I don't know what you're talking about. The board, the investigation, the leaked information. This has you written all over it. Why would I do anything? I'm just a housewife, remember? Just a woman who lived off your success. How could someone like me possibly hurt someone as powerful as you? Her tone was mocking, and rage flooded through him. Where are you living, McKenna? Where's my son? Cameron is with family, safe, loved, and far away from you. He's my son. I have rights. You had rights. Past tense. You gave them up when you sold our house, forged my signature, and moved your mistress into what you thought was your new life. Speaking of which, how's that penthouse working out for you? What do you mean? Oh, nothing. I'm sure you'll figure it out soon. Goodbye, Archie. Don't call again unless you're ready to discuss divorce terms. And trust me, you're not going to like my terms. She hung up. Archie drove to the Riverside Towers penthouse in a daze. When he arrived, Isabel was waiting in the lobby, her face streaked with tears. We need to leave, right now. What are you talking about? This building. Archie, we need to leave this building immediately. Why? We have a lease. Isabel handed him a letter. Official Property Management letterhead. Notice of lease termination for falsified application and fraud. I don't understand. Who owns this building? Isabel's voice was barely a whisper. She does. McKenna. She owns this entire building. She's owned it for years. You moved us into a building your wife owns. The world tilted sideways. Archie read the letter again, searching for a mistake, finding none. That's impossible. She doesn't have money like this. She doesn't own anything. She owns everything, Archie. Buildings, properties, businesses. Under her maiden name, Winters Property Group. I looked it up. She's worth more than you. She was always worth more than you. Archie walked to the elevator in a trance, rode up to the penthouse, and stood in the empty space that used to hold McKenna's furniture, because that's when he realized the second mistake. The furniture they'd moved here, the couch, the piano, the antiques, all of it came from McKenna's inheritance. All of it was legally hers, and she'd sent movers this morning to take it all back. The penthouse was empty, completely empty except for his suitcase and Isabel's bag. He'd lost his job, his reputation, his home, and his furniture in a single day. His phone buzzed with notifications, news alerts. His firing was public. Business journals were reporting the scandal. His name was being destroyed in real time. Another buzz, a text from an unknown number. This is what happens when you underestimate your wife. Enjoy sleeping on the floor. A friend, Tyrell. That had to be Tyrell, McKenna's hacker brother. Another text, this time from a number he recognized. Gwen. We need to talk. Everything is falling apart. Call me. Archie called. Gwen answered, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. The Bar Association opened an ethics investigation into me. Someone sent them evidence of the shell companies, the fraud paperwork, all of it. Archie, I'm going to be disbarred. My career is over. How is this happening? How does she have all this information? Because she's smarter than both of us combined, you idiot. She's been documenting everything for years. Every affair, every lie, every dollar you hid. She built a case while we thought she was just a naive housewife. We underestimated her completely. What do we do? We? There is no we anymore, Archie. You're toxic. Association with you will destroy what little I have left. Don't call me again. She hung up. Archie stood in the empty penthouse as the sun set, realizing he'd been playing checkers while his wife was playing chess, and she'd just called checkmate. His phone rang. Preston Locke, attorney at law. Mr. Smith, I'm calling to inform you that my client, McKenna Grace, is filing for divorce. You'll be served with papers tomorrow. We're requesting full financial disclosure, custody arrangements that favor our client, and division of assets that reflects the prenuptial agreement you signed but apparently forgot existed. What prenuptial agreement? We didn't have one. Actually, you did. buried in the home purchase paperwork. You signed it along with 30 other documents, never bothering to read. It states that in the event of divorce due to infidelity, the injured party retains all premarital assets and the at-fault party forfeits claim to shared property. Since the house was purchased with your wife's inheritance and held in her family trust, and since you committed provable adultery, you're entitled to essentially nothing. You can't do this. We already did. Have a good evening, Mr. Smith. Or rather, have the evening you've earned. After Preston hung up, Archie walked to the balcony, looking down at the city lights. Everything he'd built, everything he thought he controlled was gone, because of choices he'd made, betrayals he'd committed, and somewhere out there McKenna Winters, the woman he'd never truly known, was watching his empire crumble and feeling absolutely nothing. The woman he'd dismissed as forgettable was unforgettable. The wife he'd treated as invisible was the most visible power in the city, and the marriage he'd destroyed so carelessly was now destroying him with surgical precision. He'd lost, and the worst part? The game was far from over. Chapter 5. The man who lost everything. The knock on the door came at midnight, aggressive, urgent, the sound of someone who'd stopped caring about social boundaries. Tyrell answered it, phone in hand, ready to call police. Archie Smith stood on the porch, disheveled and desperate, clearly drunk. I need to see my wife. Ex-wife, and no, you don't. Leave now or I'm calling the cops. I need to talk to McKenna. This is all a misunderstanding. If she'd just listen. She doesn't want to hear your lies. Archie tried to push past, but Tyrell, younger, stronger, and stone-cold sober, blocked him easily. Don't make me hurt you, Archie. You've caused enough damage. Walk away. That's my son in there. I have rights. McKenna appeared behind Tyrell, her voice cold and controlled. You have no rights. Not anymore. Leave my mother's property or I'll have you arrested for trespassing. Archie looked at her with bloodshot eyes, and for a moment she saw genuine anguish. But she also saw manipulation, the crocodile tears of someone who'd lost control and was scrambling for purchase. McKenna, please, let me explain. Let me make this right. There is no making this right. You sold my house. You stole from your company. You had affairs with multiple women, including my best friend. You have a secret daughter you hid from me for years. There's no explanation that justifies any of that. I made mistakes. I'm human, but we can fix this. No, Archie, you made choices, deliberately, repeatedly for years, and now you're facing consequences. That's not a mistake, that's justice. You're destroying me. My company fired me, my assets are frozen, I can't even access my money. You're taking everything. I'm taking what's mine and protecting what you tried to steal. Everything else, you did to yourself. Archie's desperation turned to rage. You think you're so perfect. You think you're blameless. You were cold, distant. You stopped being a real wife years ago. McKenna's laugh was razor sharp. I was cold because you were cheating. I was distant because you were lying. I stopped being a wife the moment you stopped being a husband. Don't you dare blame me for your failures. I gave you everything. This house, your lifestyle, everything you have is because of me. Wrong. Everything I have is because of me. The house you sold, I bought it with my inheritance. The lifestyle you're so proud of, I funded it with my own investments. The empire you thought you built, I built one bigger while you were busy destroying ours. Archie stared at her, genuine confusion breaking through his rage. What are you talking about? I own buildings, Archie, properties all over the state, a real estate portfolio worth more than your company ever was. All of it in my maiden name, all of it protected from you. While you thought I was just a housewife planning charity events, I was building an empire you never knew existed. The color drained from Archie's face as the truth hit him. That's impossible. You don't have that kind of money. My father left me everything, his properties, his investments, his business connections, and I took all of it and made it grow. The Riverside Towers where you moved Isabel, I own it. Have for years. You literally moved your mistress into a building your wife owns. No, that can't be true. Tyrell held up his phone, showing property records, business registrations, all bearing the name McKenna Winters. She's been the power behind her throne the whole time, and you were too busy cheating to notice." Archie stumbled back like he'd been physically struck. "Why? Why hide it from me?" "Because my mother warned me about you on our wedding day. She said you had a wanderer's eyes, that you'd betray me eventually. So I protected myself. I built a life where if you ever destroyed me, I'd still have the strength to walk away. And thank God I did, because you proved her right. I loved you. No, Archie. You loved having me. You loved what I represented. A beautiful wife, a perfect family, the appearance of success. But you never loved me. Because if you'd loved me, you would have asked questions. You would have cared about my dreams, my work, my life. But you never asked. Not once in 15 years did you ask what I did with my days or my inheritance. Because I wasn't a person to you. I was an accessory." The truth in her words broke something in Archie. He sank onto the porch steps, head in his hands. "I've lost everything. You threw everything away. There's a difference. What do I do now? How do I fix this?" "You don't fix it, you live with it. You accept that you destroyed lives, and there are consequences. And maybe, if you're lucky, you figure out how to become a decent human being before it's too late." "Can I see Cameron, please, just 5 minutes?" McKenna's voice softened slightly, but her resolve didn't waver. "Cameron doesn't want to see you. When and if he decides he's ready, it'll be on his terms, not yours. He's my son. He's my son. You forfeited your claim when you chose affairs over family." Archie looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry." "You're right. It doesn't mean anything. Sorry doesn't undo years of betrayal. Now leave before I call the police." Archie stood slowly, defeated. As he walked to his car, he turned back one last time. "For what it's worth, you were always too good for me. I just didn't realize it until I'd destroyed everything. That's the truest thing you've ever said to me." After he drove away, McKenna collapsed against the doorframe, shaking with adrenaline and emotion. Diane wrapped her in a hug. "You were magnificent." "I don't feel magnificent. I feel exhausted." "That's because you just faced down the man who destroyed you and came out standing. That takes everything you have." Over the next few weeks, the divorce proceedings moved forward with brutal efficiency. Archie had no money for a good lawyer, no credibility with judges, no defense against the mountain of evidence. The settlement was exactly what McKenna wanted. Full custody of Cameron, all marital assets that were actually hers, and Archie kept nothing except his personal debts and reputation in ruins. The criminal charges resulted in probation, community service and financial penalties that would keep Archie broke for years. Through it all, McKenna tried to maintain normalcy for Cameron, but her son was struggling, withdrawing into himself, barely speaking. One afternoon, she found him in his room, holding a photo album. "Mum, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Did Dad ever actually love us? Or was it all fake?" McKenna sat beside him, choosing her words carefully. "I think your father loved us the best way he was capable of, but his capacity for love was broken. He sees people as extensions of himself, not as individuals with their own needs and feelings." "So he's sick?" "In a way. But sick doesn't mean not responsible. He still made choices, he still hurt people, and he still needs to face consequences." "Do you think he'll ever get better?" "I don't know. Some people can change if they get help and do the work. Most don't, they just get better at pretending." Cameron closed the album. "I don't know if I ever want to see him again." "That's okay. You get to decide that. Nobody can force you to have a relationship with someone who hurt you, even if they're family." "Do you ever miss him? Like who you thought he was?" "Every day. I miss the man I thought I married, but that man never existed. So mostly, I just miss the woman I was before I knew the truth, the one who still believed in fairy tales." "Are you going to be okay, Mom?" McKenna pulled him close. "We're going to be okay, baby. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but eventually, we're going to rebuild our lives into something beautiful. And when we do, it'll be real this time. Built on truth instead of lies. Promise?" I promise. That evening, McKenna received an unexpected call from Isabel. I need to meet with you again. It's important. What's wrong? It's about Lily. She knows something's wrong. She's asking questions I don't know how to answer, and I think maybe it's time for Cameron to meet her, if you think that's okay. McKenna's first instinct was to say no, to protect Cameron from more pain. But then she thought about that little girl, innocent of any crime, growing up thinking her father abandoned her. Let me talk to Cameron. If he's ready, we'll arrange something. But Isabel, you need to be honest with Lily about who Archie really is. She deserves truth, even if it's painful. I know. I'm working up the courage. Work faster, because when this all becomes public record, she's going to hear it from strangers if she doesn't hear it from you first. After they hung up, McKenna found Cameron and laid out the situation. Your half-sister Lily is asking about you. Isabel thinks maybe you should meet, but only if you want to. Cameron was quiet for a long time. Then, is she nice? Lily? I don't know. I've only seen photos, but she's 7 years old and innocent. She didn't choose any of this. Neither did I. No, neither of you did. You're both victims of your father's selfishness. Would it be weird, meeting her? Probably, but sometimes the right thing is weird. Cameron thought about it. Okay, I'll meet her, but you have to be there, and if it's too weird, I get to leave. Deal. The meeting was arranged for the following weekend at a neutral park. Isabel brought Lily and McKenna brought Cameron. The two children stared at each other awkwardly until Lily spoke up with the brutal honesty only children possess. You're my brother, the one Daddy talks about. He said you're really smart and good at robots. Cameron's face softened. He said that? That's mean. I bet you're plenty smart. I can read chapter books, and I know all my multiplication tables up to 5. That is pretty smart. Want me to show you something cool? I brought my robot. As Cameron and Lily gradually warmed to each other, McKenna and Isabel stood at a distance, two women connected by the wreckage of the same man. Thank you for this, Isabel said quietly. Lily needs family who isn't broken. Cameron needs to know he's not alone in being hurt by Archie. Maybe they can help each other heal. Is there any chance, I know it's stupid to ask, but is there any chance you and I could ever be civil? Not friends. I know that's impossible. But civil. McKenna watched Cameron teaching Lily how to operate the robot, saw her son's face light up with purpose and connection. Ask me again in a year. Right now I'm still too angry, but maybe someday for the sake of those kids we can figure out how to be civil. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. As they prepared to leave, Lily hugged Cameron goodbye. Can we do this again, please? I never had a big brother before. Cameron looked at his mother, silently asking permission. McKenna nodded. Yeah, we can do this again. Maybe next time I'll teach you how to code. What's code? Computer language. It's cool, I promise. On the drive home, Cameron was quiet, but less withdrawn than he'd been in weeks. She's not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone terrible, maybe. But she's just a kid who's confused and hurt and doesn't understand why her dad doesn't visit. Just like you. Yeah, just like me. Does it help? Knowing you're not alone? Maybe, I don't know yet, but it doesn't hurt as much as I thought it would. McKenna squeezed his hand. That's progress, baby. That night, she received one final text from Archie. Thank you for letting them meet. I don't deserve your kindness, but thank you. She didn't respond, but she also didn't delete the message. Because maybe, somewhere buried under all the damage and betrayal, there was a sliver of humanity in Archie Smith. But that wasn't her problem anymore. Her problem was healing, and day by day, breath by breath, that's exactly what she was doing. Chapter 6. The Architect Who Saw Her. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, McKenna stood in the lobby of Jefferson Towers, reviewing renovation plans with her property manager, Ruby Flores. The architect wants to meet with you personally, Ruby said, a knowing smile on her face. Says the owner should approve these changes directly. What architect? I thought we were using the firm we always use. We were, but they're backed up for months. I took the liberty of hiring someone new, someone exceptional. His name is Julian Rivera. Something in Ruby's tone made McKenna suspicious. Ruby, are you matchmaking? I'm connecting brilliant people who should know each other. Professionally, what happens after that is none of my business. Ruby's smile widened. He's in the conference room. And McKenna? He doesn't know you own this building. I told him the owner was considering his proposal. Why didn't you tell him? Because I wanted him to pitch to you as a person, not as a wealthy developer he's trying to impress. Trust me on this. McKenna walked into the conference room, expecting another slick salesman in an expensive suit. Instead, she found a man in his late 40s wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, sketching modifications on architectural plans spread across the table. He looked up when she entered, and his smile was genuine, unpolished, real. You must be Ms. Winters, Julian Rivera. Thank you for meeting with me. He didn't try to shake her hand or invade her space, just gestured to the plans with enthusiasm that seemed entirely focused on the work, not the sale. Ruby showed me the building. It's got good bones, but the lobby desperately needs updating. I'm thinking something that honors the Art Deco history while bringing in modern sustainability features. For the next hour, Julian walked her through ideas that were creative, thoughtful, and genuinely innovative. He asked about her vision, listened to her answers, built on her suggestions rather than dismissing them. It was the first time in years a man had listened to her as an equal rather than a subordinate or an ornament. This is impressive work, McKenna said finally. I have one question. Why should I hire you instead of the firm I've been using for years? Julian leaned back, considering. Honestly, you shouldn't. They're great, reliable, safe. I'm none of those things. I'm a risk, but I'm a risk that sees buildings as living things, not just investment properties. I design spaces that make people feel something, not just spaces that maximize square footage. What made you become an architect? The question seemed to surprise him. My father was a carpenter, immigrant from Colombia. He built beautiful things with his hands, but never got credit because he didn't have formal education. I became an architect to honor him, to take his craftsmanship and give it legitimacy in a world that respects degrees more than talent. That's a beautiful reason. It's an honest one, and honesty is about all I have to offer these days. Something in his tone made McKenna curious. These days? Julian hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. My wife died 5 years ago, cancer. We had plans. Expand my firm, travel, grow old together. All of it ended in a hospice bed with me holding her hand while she apologized for dying. As if dying was something she chose. He shook his head. Sorry, that's too much information for a business meeting. It's not too much. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. And I'm sorry if Ruby ambushed you. She has a habit of connecting people and thinking she's subtle about it. McKenna laughed. She's not subtle at all, but she has good instincts. This proposal is excellent, Mr. Rivera. I'd like to move forward with it. Really? Just like that? Just like that. But I have one condition. You work directly with me on all decisions. I want to be involved in every choice, not just approve final plans. That's usually not how developers work. Most just want the result, not the process. I'm not most developers. Julian smiled. I'm starting to see that. Can I ask why you want to be so involved? Because this building matters to me, and because I'm tired of men making decisions about my property without consulting me. Understanding flickered across his face. Recent divorce. How did you? Ruby might have mentioned it, and you have that look. The one my sister had when she finally left her ex-husband, like you're reclaiming space that was taken from you. That's exactly what I'm doing. Then I'm honored to help. And Ms. Winters, thank you for giving me a chance. You won't regret it. As Julian packed up his plans, McKenna found herself studying him. He was handsome in an understated way, no polished veneer, just a man comfortable in his own skin. His hands were calloused, the hands of someone who still did actual work, instead of just delegating it. "Can I ask you something?" she said before he left. "Of course. Why did Ruby think we should meet? What did she tell you about me?" Julian smiled. "She said you were the smartest property owner she'd ever worked with, that you built an empire while everyone underestimated you, and that you deserved to work with someone who saw your vision instead of trying to impose their own." He paused. "She also said you'd been hurt badly and might need a reminder that not everyone is terrible." She said all that. Ruby talks a lot, but she's usually right about people. After he left, McKenna called Ruby immediately. "You could have warned me you were setting me up." Ruby's laugh was unapologetic. "If I'd warned you, you'd have said no. This way, you met him as himself. What did you think?" "I think he's talented and honest, and I'm not ready for whatever you're trying to make happen." "I'm not trying to make anything happen. I'm just introducing two good people who might enjoy working together. What comes after that is up to you." Over the following months, McKenna and Julian worked closely on the Jefferson Towers renovation. They met weekly to review progress, discuss design choices, and gradually to talk about life beyond architecture. He told her about his daughter Sophia, a teenager applying to art schools, brilliant and terrifying in equal measure. About his late wife Maria, who'd been a teacher, and how he still found himself turning to share something with her before remembering she was gone. McKenna told him about Cameron, about the divorce, about building a business empire in secret, about betrayal and recovery, and learning to trust again. They never called their meetings dates, but they lasted longer than necessary, included coffee that turned into dinner, and ended with both of them reluctant to leave. One evening, after reviewing paint samples for the lobby, Julian asked carefully, "Can I take you to dinner? Not a working dinner, an actual date where we don't discuss grout colors or permit applications?" McKenna's instinct was to say no. It was too soon. She wasn't ready. Her heart was still healing. But then she thought about spending another evening alone, protecting herself from possibility, and realized that was just another kind of prison. "Yes, but I need you to know I'm bringing baggage. A lot of it. We're both carrying something. At least yours is interesting." "How do you know it's interesting?" "Because you're interesting. The baggage is just part of your story." Their first official date was dinner at a quiet restaurant. No architectural plans, no business agenda. Just two people who'd survived their own disasters, testing whether they could build something new. "Tell me about Maria," McKenna said. "Ruby mentioned you were married, but not much else." Julian's face softened with memory. "We met in college. She was studying education, I was in architecture. She thought I was arrogant, which I was, and told me so to my face. I'd never met anyone who challenged me like that. We were married for 20 years, had Sophia, built a life, then breast cancer, and suddenly I was planning a funeral instead of our anniversary trip. I'm so sorry. The worst part wasn't her dying. It was her apologizing for it, like somehow her body betraying her was something she did to me on purpose. I kept telling her it wasn't her fault, but she felt guilty anyway. Guilty for getting sick, for leaving me alone, for not getting to see Sophia graduate. That must have been impossibly hard. It was, but it also taught me something. Life is brutally unfair. People we love leave, either by choice or by death, and we can let that make us bitter, or we can let it make us grateful for whatever time we get. Which did you choose? Both. I was bitter for years, angry at Maria for dying, angry at God for taking her, angry at the world for continuing without her. Then Sophia graduated middle school, and I realized I'd missed 2 years of her life being angry at a ghost, so I chose grateful instead. How long did that take? I'm still working on it. Some days are easier than others. McKenna nodded, understanding. My ex-husband didn't die, but the man I thought I married never existed. So in a way, I'm grieving someone who was never real. That might be harder, actually. At least I have good memories to hold on to. You have to sort through which memories were lies. Exactly. I keep replaying moments, trying to figure out if he ever actually loved me or if I was just useful. That's his failure, not yours. You're not unlovable because he was incapable of loving properly. The words were simple, but they hit McKenna in a place that had been hollow for months. Thank you for that. I mean it. From what Ruby's told me, from what I've seen working with you, you're remarkable. Anyone who couldn't see that was blind. They talked for hours, about loss and rebuilding, about being single parents, about the terror of trusting again after betrayal. When Julian walked her to her car, he didn't try to kiss her. Just said, "Can we do this again, when you're ready?" I'd like that. Good, because I haven't enjoyed talking to someone this much since Maria, and that feels both wonderful and terrifying. I understand that feeling exactly. Over the next few months, McKenna and Julian continued their careful courtship. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into long walks. Long walks turned into introducing their children. Cameron and Sophia hit it off immediately, bonding over being children of complicated circumstances and sharing a similar dark humor. "Your mum seems happier," Sophia observed one afternoon when both families were at the park. Cameron watched his mother laughing at something Julian said. "Yeah, she does. It's weird seeing her happy again, but good weird. Dad's happier too, less sad. He smiles more now." "Does it bother you, seeing him with someone who's not your mum?" Sophia considered. "Sometimes. But Mum's been gone for years. And she told Dad before she died that she wanted him to be happy again. To find someone and not spend his life mourning her, so I think she'd like your mum." "You think my mom and your dad are going to get serious?" "Probably. They're both terrible at hiding how they feel. Adults think they're subtle. They're not." Cameron laughed. "Facts." Meanwhile, McKenna was dealing with unexpected complications. Archie's mother, Barbara, had reached out, asking to see Cameron. "I know I have no right," Barbara said over the phone, her voice stiff with discomfort. "My husband and I were terrible to you. We blamed you for Archie's failures when we should have blamed ourselves for raising a son with no moral compass. But Cameron is still our grandson, and I'd like to try to have a relationship with him, if you'll allow it." McKenna's first instinct was to refuse. The Smiths had been cold to her throughout her marriage, always making her feel like she wasn't good enough for their son. But she thought about Cameron, who'd lost so much family in the divorce. "You can see him, but with conditions. You never, and I mean never, make excuses for Archie or try to convince Cameron to forgive him before he's ready. You respect my role as his mother. And if you violate those boundaries even once, you're gone. Understood?" "Understood. Thank you, McKenna. You're more gracious than we deserve." The visit was awkward at first. Barbara and Edmund Smith sat stiffly in Diane's living room, clearly uncomfortable but determined. "Cameron, we owe you an apology," Barbara said. "We weren't good grandparents. We were so focused on your father's success that we didn't make time for you. That was wrong." Cameron, now 16 and more mature than his years, studied them carefully. "Why now? Why do you suddenly care?" "Because we finally understand what your father threw away, and we realize that if we don't act now, we'll lose you too. We don't deserve a relationship with you, but we'd like to try to earn one." "What about Mom? Are you going to keep blaming her for Dad's problems?" Edmund spoke for the first time. "Your mother was right about everything. We were wrong about everything. Your father made his own choices, and those choices destroyed good people. We're ashamed of the man we raised." Cameron looked at McKenna, silently asking what to do. "It's your choice, baby. I won't force you either way." "Can I think about it?" "Of course," Barbara said. "Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready." After they left, Cameron sat with his mother on the back porch. "Do you think they're serious, or are they just trying to make themselves feel better?" "I think they're serious, but people can be serious and still screw up. You'll have to watch and see if their actions match their words." "That's what you're doing with Julian, right? watching to see if he's real. How did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. As autumn turned to winter, McKenna's life settled into a new rhythm. Work with Julian on multiple projects, co-parenting Cameron, gradually allowing herself to hope again. One evening, Julian asked her to come to his house for dinner. Nothing fancy, just him cooking for her while Sophia was at a friend's house. I need to tell you something, he said as they sat on his couch after dinner, and McKenna's stomach dropped, preparing for the reveal of some hidden flaw. I'm falling in love with you, and I know it's fast, and I know you're still healing, but I needed you to know, because I don't want to hide how I feel. If it's too soon, tell me. I can wait. I can be patient. But I can't pretend I don't feel this. McKenna's heart raced. Part of her wanted to run, to protect herself, to say it was too soon, but another part, the part that had been slowly healing, wanted to be brave. I'm scared, she admitted. Terrified, actually. My last relationship was built on lies. I don't know if I can trust my judgment anymore. Then don't trust your judgment. Trust my actions. Watch what I do, not just what I say. And if I ever make you feel less than cherished, tell me immediately. What if I'm broken? What if Archie damaged me so badly I can't love properly anymore? Julian pulled her close. Then we'll be broken together and figure it out as we go. That's what Maria taught me. Love isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest about your damage and choosing each other anyway. McKenna let herself lean into him, let herself feel safe in a man's arms for the first time in years. Ask me again in 6 months. I'm not ready to say it back yet, but I might be. Eventually. 6 months. I can wait 6 months. I can wait forever if that's what you need. Meanwhile, across the city, Archie Smith sat in his small apartment, working a minimum-wage job, living with the consequences of his choices. And for the first time in his life, he was starting to understand what he'd destroyed. The question was, would understanding be enough to change him, or was it already too late? Chapter 7. The Long Road to Redemption. Archie Smith stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror of his studio apartment. The man looking back was almost unrecognizable. Thinner, grayer, wearing a uniform from the car rental agency where he now worked. He'd hit rock bottom and was trying to claw his way back up. It had been 8 months since the divorce. 8 months of working minimum wage, living in this tiny apartment, attending court-ordered therapy sessions. His therapist, Dr. Patterson, was relentless. You keep saying you want to change, she'd said in their last session, but change requires more than wanting. It requires action, daily, difficult action. I'm here, aren't I? I'm doing the work. You're showing up. That's different from doing the work. Real change means examining every behavior, every thought pattern, every excuse you've made for years. It means accepting that you're not the victim in your story. You're the villain. The word hit like a slap. I'm not a villain. I made mistakes. Archie, you manipulated young women using power dynamics. You betrayed your wife repeatedly over 15 years. You emotionally damaged your son. You destroyed lives deliberately and called it love. That's not making mistakes. That's being a villain. Sitting alone in his apartment now, Archie forced himself to say it out loud. I was the villain. The words felt foreign in his mouth. His whole life he'd been the hero of his own story, the successful executive, the charming husband, the man everyone admired. But the truth was uglier. He'd been a predator, a liar, a man who used people and discarded them when they stopped serving his needs. His phone rang. Gwen. Don't answer, he told himself. But old habits died hard. What do you want, Gwen? I need to talk to you about getting back together. We could move somewhere new, start fresh. No. The word surprised them both. What do you mean, no? Archie, we're good together. We understand each other. We destroyed each other, Gwen, and we destroyed innocent people in the process. There's no us anymore. There never really was. You're just saying that because you're broke and embarrassed. When you get back on your feet, I'm not getting back on my feet, not the way you mean. I'm not going back to being that person, the one who thought he could have everything and hurt everyone. I'm done with that life, and I'm done with you. You'll change your mind. You always do. No, Gwen, I won't. Goodbye. He hung up and immediately blocked her number. It felt like cutting off a limb, but it also felt necessary. Isabel was harder. She showed up at his apartment 2 weeks later, Lily in tow. "We need to talk," she said, standing in the hallway. Archie looked at his daughter, 7 years old now, with his eyes and a confusion that broke his heart. "Lily, sweetheart, can you wait in the hallway for a minute? I need to talk to your mom alone." After Lily stepped away, Isabel pushed into his apartment. "I'm struggling, Archie. The money you were giving me stopped. I can't afford our apartment anymore. I need help." "I don't have money to give you. I'm barely surviving myself." "Then we should move in together. Pool resources. Be a family finally." Archie looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in years. She was so young, just a kid herself when he'd started pursuing her. "Isabel, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me." "What?" "I'm sorry. For everything. For pursuing you when you were 19 and I was your boss. For manipulating you into an affair. For promising you things I never intended to deliver. For using you." Isabel's face crumpled. "You're leaving me. Again. I'm not leaving you. We were never really together. I kept you in a box marked available when convenient. That's not a relationship. That's control." "But Lily? Lily deserves better than a father who shows up when it's easy and disappears when it's hard. And right now, I'm trying to figure out how to be a decent human being. I can't do that while I'm still lying to you and myself about what we were." "So what? You're just abandoning us?" "No. I'll send what I can for Lily. Not much. I don't have much. But I'll support my daughter financially. But you and me? We're done, Isabel. We should have been done years ago." "What am I supposed to do?" "Figure out who you are without me. Build a life that's yours. Be a real mother to Lily instead of someone waiting for a man who was never going to choose you." After Isabel left, Archie sat alone and cried. Not for what he'd lost, but for what he'd destroyed. He called his mother. "Mum, I need help. Not money, something harder." Barbara's voice was cautious. "What kind of help?" "I need to understand how I became this person. I need to know if there's any way back from being a monster." There was a long pause. Then, "Come to dinner, Sunday. Your father and I will talk to you, really talk, no more pretending everything's fine." That Sunday dinner was brutal. Edmund and Barbara didn't sugarcoat anything. "We enabled you," Edmund said, his voice harsh. "We praised your success and ignored your character. We taught you that winning mattered more than how you won." "We're ashamed," Barbara added, "not just of you, of ourselves, for creating a man who thought people were disposable." "Can I fix it?" Archie asked. "Can I become someone different?" "Maybe," Edmund said, "but it'll take years, real years, not months of therapy and calling it done. Years of daily work, daily choices to be better." "I don't know if I can do that." "Then you'll die alone," Barbara said bluntly, "because nobody, not your son, not your ex-wife, not any woman, will ever trust you again unless you fundamentally change who you are." Months turned into a year. Then 2. Archie kept working his minimum wage job, kept attending therapy twice a week, started attending a support group for men with narcissistic tendencies. He heard stories that mirrored his own. Men who'd destroyed families, hurt children, left wreckage in their wake. Some were trying to change. Most were just there because court ordered it. Archie made a decision. He'd be one of the ones who actually changed. He started volunteering at a domestic violence shelter, working with men who'd abused their partners. Not as a counselor, he wasn't qualified, just as a janitor. But being there, hearing stories of the damage men like him caused, kept him humble. He wrote letters to McKenna, never sent them, just wrote them, processing his guilt and shame. "Dear McKenna, I understand now that I never loved you. I loved the idea of you. I loved how you made me look. but I never saw you as a person. I'm sorry. Dear McKenna, I stole 15 years of your life, years you could have spent with someone who deserved you. I can't give those years back, but I can stop taking more from you. Dear McKenna, Cameron hates me. He should. I'm trying to become someone he might not hate someday. I don't deserve forgiveness, but maybe I can earn the right to ask for it. He wrote to Cameron, too, monthly letters mailed to McKenna's mother's house, not knowing if his son ever read them. Cameron, I'm working on myself. Not because I expect anything from you, but because you deserve a father who at least tries to be decent, even if it's too late. He never got responses, but he kept writing. Meanwhile, McKenna's life was blooming. She and Julian got engaged after 2 years of careful, honest relationship building. The proposal was simple, on the rooftop of the building they'd designed together, with their kids present as witnesses. Cameron was thriving in college, studying engineering. Lily visited regularly, bonding with her brother and finding stability she'd never had. Isabel had rebuilt her life, going to school, becoming a social worker, finally being a present mother. Everything Archie had tried to destroy had healed and grown stronger, but he wasn't part of it. He'd cut himself off from all of them, focusing solely on becoming someone different. Dr. Patterson asked him in a session, "Why are you doing this? Really? What's your motivation?" "I want my son back." "That's not enough." "That's still about what you want. Why are you changing?" Archie thought for a long time. "Because I don't want to be a cautionary tale anymore. I want to be proof that even terrible people can become less terrible. Not good, maybe never good, but less terrible." "That's more honest. Keep that honesty." 3 years after the divorce, Archie finally worked up the courage to do something terrifying. He called McKenna. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice wary. "Archie, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need to ask something. Not for me, for Cameron." "What about Cameron?" "I want to write him a letter, a real one, explaining everything I've been doing, the therapy, the work, the changes, not asking for forgiveness, just letting him know that I'm trying. Would you give it to him?" "Why now, after 3 years of silence?" "Because I needed 3 years to have anything worth saying. I'm not the same person who destroyed our family. I'm not good. But I'm trying to be less bad. And Cameron deserves to know that people can change, even people as broken as I was." McKenna was quiet for a long time. "Send the letter to my office. I'll decide if he's ready to read it." "Thank you." "Archie, are you really changing? Or is this another manipulation? I don't know how to prove it's real, but it feels different this time. It hurts more. Real change is supposed to hurt." After they hung up, Archie wrote the most honest letter of his life. "Cameron, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect anything from you anymore. But I need to tell you what I've been doing for the past 3 years. I've been in therapy twice a week, not court-ordered anymore, just because I'm trying to understand what made me hurt people I claim to love. I've been working minimum wage, living in a studio apartment, learning what it's like to struggle like the people I look down on. I've been volunteering at a shelter, seeing the damage men like me cause, staying humble. I've been writing letters I never send, processing guilt that sometimes feels like it'll drown me. I've rejected Gwen and Isabel, cut off everyone from my old life, because I can't become someone new while clinging to who I was. I don't know if I'll ever be a good man, but I'm trying to be a less terrible one, not for redemption, just because it's the right thing to do. I'm not asking to see you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just telling you, people can change. Even people who don't deserve second chances can work to become worthy of them. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. But if you never do, I understand. I'm sorry for everything, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving that sorry can be more than just words. Your father, who's trying to earn that title. He mailed the letter and waited. Days turned into weeks. No response. But he kept going, kept working, kept changing, because that's what real change required. Showing up every day, even when nobody was watching, even when there was no reward, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Chapter 8. The Reunion. No one expected, 2 years after Archie sent that letter, McKenna married Julian in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by chosen family and hard-won love. Cameron walked his mother down the aisle, proud and protective. Sophia stood as her father's best person. Lily was the flower girl, taking her role very seriously. Isabel attended, sitting quietly, witnessing grace she'd been shown. Barbara and Edmund Smith were there too, having rebuilt a relationship with Cameron based on honesty and consistency. The only person not invited was Archie. Some boundaries remained necessary, but as the reception wound down and guests were leaving, Cameron pulled his mother aside. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, but I've been thinking about Dad, about the letters he's been sending." McKenna's heart sank. "You've been reading them?" "For the past year. At first I just threw them away, but then I started opening them, and Mom, they're different. He's different, or at least he's trying to be." "What are you saying?" "I think I want to see him, not forgive him. Not have some fairy tale reunion, just see him, talk to him, decide for myself if he's really changing or just performing change." McKenna wanted to protect her son from more disappointment, but Cameron was almost 20 now, a man making his own choices. "If that's what you need, I support you. But Cameron, don't expect miracles. People can change, but they rarely change completely." "I know. I'm not expecting a dad. I'm just expecting answers." The meeting was arranged for a week later at a neutral coffee shop. McKenna drove Cameron but waited in the car, giving them space but staying close in case he needed rescue. Archie arrived early, wearing his car rental uniform because he'd come straight from work. He looked older, worn down by life and consequences, but his eyes were different, clearer, more aware, less selfish. Cameron sat down across from him, keeping the table between them like a buffer. "You look terrible," Cameron said bluntly. "I feel terrible, but it's the good kind of terrible, the kind that comes from facing what you did instead of running from it." "Why did you want to see me?" "I didn't ask for this meeting, you did. I've been sending letters because you deserve to know I'm working on myself, but I never expected you to respond." "I almost didn't, but I needed to see if it's real, the change, or if you're just playing a new character." Archie nodded. "That's fair. Ask me anything, I'll answer honestly. No more lies." "Why? Why did you destroy our family?" "Because I'm broken inside. I have what my therapist calls narcissistic personality disorder. It means I see people as extensions of myself, not as separate humans with their own needs. I used your mother. I used you. I used every woman who was stupid enough to care about me." Past tense. "You're saying you're fixed now?" "No, I'll never be fixed. I'll always have to fight against my worst instincts. But I'm fighting now instead of pretending those instincts don't exist." "Tell me about Lily. About why you had a kid with someone else while Mom was trying to give you another child." Archie flinched, but didn't look away. "I was having an affair with Isabel because she made me feel powerful. When she got pregnant, I panicked, told her to get an abortion. When she refused, I set her up in an apartment and visited occasionally, treating her and Lily like a side project. I didn't love them. I just liked having them available." "That's sick." "Yes, it is. And Gwen, my godmother. Gwen and I had an affair that lasted most of your life. She was in love with me. I used that love to manipulate her into helping me commit fraud. She destroyed her career helping me, and I never cared until it affected me." Cameron's voice shook. "Did you ever actually love any of us? Or were we all just props?" "I love the idea of all of you, the perfect family, the successful image. But did I love you as people? No. I was incapable of that kind of love. I'm still not sure I'm capable of it now. But I'm learning what real love looks like by seeing what your mother built with Julian. Real partnership, real respect. Everything I wasn't. Do you expect me to feel sorry for you? No. I expect you to be angry. You've earned that anger." They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Cameron asked the question that had been eating him alive. "If you could go back, would you do anything differently?" "Everything. I'd go to therapy the moment I recognized something was wrong with how I saw people. I'd leave your mother before I hurt her instead of after. I'd be honest about being incapable of faithfulness instead of lying for 15 years. But I can't go back. I can only go forward." "What does forward look like for you?" "Working my minimum wage job, living in my tiny apartment, attending therapy, volunteering at the shelter, writing letters I'll never send, trying to become someone who does less damage in the world." "That's it? That's your whole life now?" "That's my whole life. And it's more honest than the life I had before." Cameron studied his father, really studied him, looking for cracks in the facade, finding only exhaustion and genuine remorse. "I don't forgive you," Cameron said finally. "I don't think I ever will. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope that someday you'll believe that people can change. Not because I deserve that belief, but because you deserve to trust again. I'm going to leave now. I might write to you, I might not. But either way, don't expect more than this. This is already more than I deserve." As Cameron stood to leave, he paused. "One more question. Do you love me? Actually love me, not the idea of me?" Archie's voice broke. "I don't know if what I feel is love, or just guilt wearing a love mask. But I know I want good things for you. I want you to be happy, successful, loved by people who deserve you. I want you to have everything I destroyed. Does that count as love? I honestly don't know. At least that's honest. It's all I have left. Honesty and attempts to be better." After Cameron left, Archie sat alone in the coffee shop, crying quietly into his cold coffee. It wasn't the reunion he'd dreamed of, but it was real. And real was all he had to offer anymore. Outside in the car, Cameron collapsed into the passenger seat. "How was it?" McKenna asked gently. "Weird, sad, real. He's not the dad I remember. He's not even trying to be that dad. He's just broken and working on his broken pieces." "How do you feel?" "I don't know. Not better, not worse, just different." "Do you want to see him again?" "Maybe, eventually. Not as a son seeing his father, but as one human checking in on another human who's struggling." "That's very mature of you. I learned from the best." Cameron didn't see Archie again for another year, but when he did, it was different. Chapter 9. The slow build to something real. Years passed. Not months. Real difficult years where Archie continued his work of becoming less terrible. He got promoted at the car rental place, not because he was special, but because he showed up every day and did honest work. He kept attending therapy, even when insurance stopped covering it and he had to pay out of pocket. He kept volunteering at the shelter, moving from janitor to helping facilitate men's accountability groups. He watched from a distance as McKenna and Julian built something beautiful. Their development company won awards. Their blended family thrived. They had a baby, a little girl they named Grace, after McKenna's father. Archie was happy for them, genuinely happy in a way he'd never been capable of before, not because it benefited him, but because McKenna deserved every good thing. Cameron came by occasionally, not often, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, just coffee, just talking, checking in. "Why do you keep coming back?" Archie asked during one visit. "I don't deserve your time." "I'm not coming back for you. I'm coming back for me. I need to see that change is possible, that people who hurt others can become people who help others. It gives me hope." "Hope for what?" "Hope that I won't become you, that I can break the cycle." That hit Archie hard. "You're nothing like me, Cameron. You're everything I should have been." "Maybe, but I have your DNA. Your tendencies might be lurking in me, so I watch you struggle to be better, and it reminds me to stay vigilant about my own character." It was the most honest conversation they'd ever had. Lily grew up, became a teenager, started asking harder questions about why her father was never really in her life. Isabel, now a licensed social worker, explained gently, "Your father hurt a lot of people. He's working on being better now, but the damage he caused means he has to stay at a distance. It's not your fault. It's his." "Can I meet him? If Cameron sees him sometimes?" Isabel called Archie, nervous. "Lily wants to meet you, actually meet you, not just visit once when she was 7 and barely remember it." "Is that a good idea?" "Probably not, but she's asking. And I think she deserves the chance to see who you are now, even if it's disappointing." The meeting happened at a park. Lily was 13 now, guarded and angry in the way teenagers are when they've been abandoned. "So you're my dad," she said, not a question. "Biologically, yes, but I haven't earned the title. I'm just Archie, the guy who messed up your mom's life and yours. Cameron says you're trying to be better." "I am, but trying doesn't undo damage." "Do you love me?" The question was a knife. I want to say yes, but I don't know what real love feels like. I know I want good things for you. I know I'm glad you exist. I know I wish I'd been a better father. Is that love? I honestly can't say. Lily studied him with eyes too old for her age. "At least you're honest. That's more than most adults give kids." They met occasionally after that. Not often, but sometimes. Building something that wasn't a father-daughter relationship, but wasn't nothing either. Meanwhile, McKenna's empire continued growing. The Grace Rivera Development Company was transforming neighborhoods, creating affordable housing alongside luxury units, building communities instead of just buildings. Cameron graduated college with honors, got into a prestigious graduate program for robotics. Lily was thriving in high school. Sophia had her baby and was working as an art therapist. Everything that Archie destroyed had rebuilt itself stronger. One afternoon, 5 years after the divorce, Archie received an unexpected call. "Mr. Smith, this is Barbara Chen from the Community Accountability Center. We're looking for someone to speak at our men's recovery program. About narcissism, about change, about accountability. Your name came up. Would you be interested?" "Speak? About what?" "About your journey. About being someone who hurt people and is working to become someone who doesn't. Not as inspiration, as warning and hope combined." Archie thought about it. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But Mr. Smith, people need to hear that change is possible, especially from someone who started as low as you did." He called Dr. Patterson. "They want me to speak publicly about what I did, about being a narcissist who destroyed his family. Is that healthy or self-flagellation? What's your motivation for doing it? Maybe someone will hear my story and get help before they destroy their own family. Maybe I can stop one person from making my mistakes. That's a good motivation. Do it." The first speaking engagement was terrifying. 50 men in a church basement, all court-ordered to attend, all angry about being there. Archie stood at the front. No notes, just honesty. "My name is Archie Smith. 5 years ago, I was a successful executive. Beautiful wife, smart son, $1 million home. I destroyed all of it through affairs, lies, and treating people like objects. Today, I work at a car rental place, live in a studio apartment, and my son sees me 3 times a year out of pity. This is what happens when you choose your ego over everything else." He told them about McKenna, about Cameron, about Isabel and Lily, about Gwen, about every person he'd damaged. "I'm not here because I'm fixed. I'm here because I'm trying. Every day. And some days I fail, but I keep trying because the alternative is being the person I was. And that person destroyed lives." After the talk, a young man approached him, maybe mid-20s, cocky and defensive. "That's all BS, right? You're exaggerating to scare us." "I wish I was. But if you want proof, Google my name. The news articles are still there. My company firing me for fraud. My divorce being covered because I was public enough to be interesting. It's all documented." The young man's cocky expression faltered. "How do you live with it? The guilt?" "Badly. But I live with it by trying to be better today than I was yesterday, by helping one person not make my mistakes, by showing up even when it's hard. That's all any of us can do. The speaking engagements became regular, once a month, then twice. Archie became known in recovery circles as the guy who admits he's still broken. He never sugarcoated his story, never pretended he was fully healed, just honest about the work. One evening, after a particularly difficult talk where a man had broken down crying about the damage he'd done to his kids, Archie returned to his apartment to find a letter waiting. It was from McKenna. His hands shook as he opened it. Archie, I heard about the speaking work you're doing. Cameron told me. He also told me you've been consistent for 5 years now. That's longer than I expected. I'm not writing to forgive you. I'll never forgive what you did to me, to Cameron, to everyone you hurt. But I wanted you to know something. You finally did something worthwhile. Warning other men not to become you, that matters. Showing people that change is possible even when it's hard, that matters. Don't mistake this for reconciliation. We'll never be friends. We'll never be family beyond the fact that we share a son. But I wanted you to know, I see your work, and it's good work. Keep doing it. Not for me, not for redemption, but because it's helping people. McKenna. Archie read the letter 3 times, then carefully filed it away. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. And after 5 years of darkness, that small light was everything. He kept working, kept speaking, kept showing up. Because that's what real change required. Not dramatic gestures, just consistent effort. Day after day after day, even when nobody was watching, especially when nobody was watching. Chapter 10. The Family Rebuilt. 7 years after the divorce, Cameron graduated with his doctorate in robotics engineering. The ceremony was packed with family. McKenna and Julian, Sophia and her husband, little Grace, now 5 years old, Barbara and Edmund Smith, Isabel and Lily. And in the back row, sitting alone, was Archie. Cameron had invited him, not to sit with family, but to be present. After the ceremony, at the celebration dinner, Cameron asked Archie to step outside for a private conversation. I need to tell you something, Cameron said. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but I'm getting married next year. Her name is Jenna. She's brilliant, kind, everything I could want. And I need to know, when I have kids someday, when I become a father, am I going to become you? The question hung in the air like a blade. Archie took a long breath. You want the comforting lie or the hard truth? Truth, always truth. You have my genetics, my predispositions, so yes, you could become me if you're not careful. But here's the difference. You're aware of it. You're asking the question. You're vigilant about your own character. That awareness is what I never had. So no, you won't become me, because you're choosing every day not to. How do I make sure? You married someone who challenges you, not someone who worships you. You go to therapy when things get hard, not after you've destroyed everything. You communicate honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. You do all the things I didn't do. Cameron nodded slowly. I want you at the wedding, not in the family section, but there, as a reminder. A reminder of what? Of what happens when you stop trying, when you choose ego over love. I want to look at you during my vows and remember never to become that. It should have hurt, but it didn't, because it was honest. I'll be there, Archie said. And Cameron, thank you for not giving up on the idea that people can change. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. I know. That's what makes it mean something. The wedding happened the following spring. It was beautiful, McKenna and Julian's back garden, filled with flowers and chosen family. Archie sat in the last row, watching his son marry a woman who looked at Cameron the way McKenna used to look at him before he destroyed that look forever. During the vows, Cameron turned slightly, making brief eye contact with his father. The message was clear. I will not be you. Archie nodded. Good, be better. At the reception, something unexpected happened. McKenna approached Archie. He stood immediately defensive. I'm leaving if I'm making you uncomfortable. Sit down, Archie. I want to say something. He sat, wary. McKenna's voice was measured, careful. I heard about your speaking work, about the men's groups, about the 7 years of consistent effort. I want you to know I respect it. You don't have to. Let me finish. I don't forgive you. I never will. What you did to me, to Cameron, to everyone, it's unforgivable. But respect and forgiveness are different things. I respect that you're trying to stop other men from making your mistakes, that work matters. Thank you. That means more than you know. Don't mistake this for friendship. Don't mistake this for reconciliation. We'll never be close. But for Cameron's sake, we can be civil. We can both be at family events without it being warfare. Can you do that? I can do that. Good. Because Cameron deserves parents who can be in the same room without poison. She walked away before he could respond. Julian approached next, extending his hand. Archie shook it, surprised. Your son is a good man, Julian said simply. He got that from his mother, not from you. But I wanted you to know, I'm raising Cameron's little sister Grace, and I'm going to make sure she knows her big brother, knows that family isn't just blood. And if you keep being consistent, if you keep doing the work, maybe someday she'll know that even broken people can build something worthwhile. I'm not asking to be part of the family. I know. But Cameron might want his kids to know their grandfather someday. And if that day comes, you'll need to have earned it. So keep earning it. After Julian left, Archie sat alone, processing. He wasn't redeemed. He'd never be redeemed. But he was tolerated, acknowledged, respected for his effort, if not forgiven for his actions. It was more than he deserved. Later, as the reception wound down, Cameron pulled his father aside one more time. I'm glad you came, but I need to set some boundaries going forward. Whatever you need. I'll see you a few times a year. We'll have coffee, talk, but you're not going to be a big part of my life. You're not going to be grandpa to my future kids in the traditional sense. You destroyed that possibility years ago. I understand. But you can be Archie, the guy who made terrible mistakes and worked to be better. The guy who helps other men not destroy their families. That person. I can have that person in my life occasionally. That's more than fair. And if you ever backslide, if you ever hurt someone the way you hurt Mom, we're done. Completely. Forever. Are we clear? Crystal clear. Cameron extended his hand. Not a hug. A handshake. Professional, boundaried, honest. Archie took it, holding his son's hand for just a moment. I'm proud of you, Archie said. Not because I had anything to do with who you became, but because despite having me as an example of what not to be, you became everything good. Thanks. Now go home. You being here was enough, don't overstay. Archie left the reception quietly, driving back to his studio apartment, sitting alone with the weight of what he'd lost and the tiny sliver of what he'd earned back. That night, he wrote in the journal Dr. Patterson had him keep. Today, I attended my son's wedding. I sat in the back. I spoke to his mother civilly. I met his stepfather, who's a better man than I ever was. I watched my son marry a woman who loves him honestly. And I realized this is as good as it gets for me. I'm not redeemed. I'm not forgiven. But I'm tolerated. I'm acknowledged. And maybe, someday, I'll earn the right to be a small part of my grandchildren's lives, not as punishment, as grace I don't deserve but will work every day to be worthy of. Meanwhile, at the reception, McKenna danced with Julian, little Grace on her hip, Cameron and his new wife laughing nearby, surrounded by family built from honesty and choice. You did good, Julian murmured. Letting Archie be there, that was generous. It wasn't for him. It was for Cameron. He needed to see that his father could show up and behave appropriately. That change is real, even if it doesn't undo damage. Still generous. Maybe, or maybe I'm just tired of anger. I won. I rebuilt. I found real love. I have an empire and a family and a life that's genuinely happy. Archie has a studio apartment and a minimum wage job. His punishment is living with what he destroyed. I don't need to add to it. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm just someone who refused to let betrayal define me. That's not remarkable. That's survival. It's both. As the night ended and guests departed, McKenna stood in her garden, in the home she owned with Julian, surrounded by children and love and chosen family, and felt complete. Not because Archie had changed, but because she had. She wasn't the naive woman who'd married a narcissist. She wasn't the devastated woman crying in Paris. She was McKenna Grace Rivera, builder of empires, mother of warriors, survivor of betrayal, proof that the best revenge is living so well that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. Archie would spend his life trying to earn back scraps of family connection. And maybe he'd succeed. Maybe Cameron's future children would know their grandfather as the man who made mistakes and worked hard to be better. But McKenna? She didn't need to earn anything. She'd already won, not through destroying Archie, through building something so beautiful that his destruction of their marriage became just a chapter in her story. Not the whole book. The woman who'd been dismissed as deadweight had become the most powerful woman in the city. The wife who'd been cheated on had found a partner who chose her every day. The mother who'd been betrayed had raised a son who broke cycles and built healthy love. That was victory. Real, complete, total victory. As Julian pulled her close and Grace fell asleep on her shoulder, and Cameron laughed with his bride, McKenna realized something profound. Archie's greatest failure wasn't cheating. It was throwing away something extraordinary without ever realizing what he had. And his greatest punishment was living long enough to see exactly what he'd lost. That was justice, not revenge, not vindication, just the natural consequence of his choices, playing out over years. McKenna Grace Rivera had won, and she'd done it by becoming completely, powerfully, joyfully herself. The woman he'd tried to break had become the woman who built empires, and that, finally, completely, beautifully, was enough.